Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and the patch notes have dropped for the first balance patch 4 across the timeways, which will launch likely in like an hour or so after this video goes live. All the changes have been outlined. We have dev comments, explanations, and all sorts of stuff. So we're going to go through it. I have a draft early from Blizzard, so thank you to them. And of course, if you enjoyed the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like as it helps the channel out a lot. So patch 34.0.2 launches today with balance updates for Hearthstone, Wild, and Battlegrounds. And I'll just say no mention of Twist yet again, which we're nearing a year since they've said a single word about that mode, which is crazy. We have the dev comment here of well met. We've been loving the fresh decks and creative strategies you've been brewing with the new cards from across the timeways like Logosh Warrior and Aura Paladin. Our goal with this balance update is to keep that spirit of experimentation alive by toning down a variety of cards that have long dominated the meta. Strong decks for the last expansion and influential cards like Firac have shaped the playing field in big ways. By adjusting these, we are opening the door for new ideas and strategies to succeed across all levels of play. We can't wait to see what you come up with next. And I'm fine. I'm on board with all that stuff. And this expansion to me has not been on Goro. There's been new stuff popping up. A lot of the new cards seeing play in old decks, but yeah, also new decks. I think like it hasn't been the greatest expansion launch ever, but it's been way better than the last two. It's not saying much, but it's been better. Anyways, the power level of these cards have been lower. So Firac gets a double hit. Firac goes to 10 mana, and now we'll cast 15 mana worth of fire spells at random enemies. So a 5 mana nerf on the spells and a mana nerf to the card itself. But you look at like Naralax, it's still 1 mana. So with that combo, doesn't make a big difference, but the 5 mana makes a significant difference. Although this is arguably a buff for Elise because it's a 10 cost card that normally you would maybe run something else at 9. Like you could do Ziliax at 9 and Firac at 10. It's almost a buff to Elise. So I think Firac is still going to be staying around. And again, with Naralax, you could still do that stuff. And Death Knight still has Maladar. So I don't know how huge a change this will be. It'll help, but I kind of wish it was a little bit more than just this, because the mana change on it is almost irrelevant a lot of the times and can be a help. But regardless, it reads as served as a go-to neutral finisher for a while, so we're cooling him off a bit to encourage exploration of more class-specific win cons. But I don't think Firac is going anywhere, to be honest. Ancient of Yore gets nerfed. He loses 2 armor for each turn, so he'll give you 6 armor over 2 turns rather than the 10, which is significant. You still draw the 2 cards, the body stays the same. I think it still sees play in like those slower decks. It's still probably worth it to cycle. Like there's not a lot of great 5-drop options, and you can still abuse it in like Warlock and get more of them and gain more armor. Yeah, it's not the same amount as armor as before, but I still think it probably slots into some decks. Maybe not as many, but definitely I don't think kills the card. And I do like the card. I just think neutral armor gain has gotten out of control. And on that level, Arcanite Defense Crystal no longer has taunt. So you can still do all the same armor gain as before, right? Unless it's like a hydration station strategy. You can't bring that back, right? Because the taunt there, but that's relevant, but that hasn't been like a dominant strategy for a bit. But when you play this, it doesn't protect you anymore. Or you summon the giant starship, it no longer has taunt. So definitely a factor, but still you could do the exact same armor gain strategies as before. So I'll be very curious to see if, Defense Crystal goes away. It hasn't been that prominent in this meta, to be fair. At least from what I've seen, I'm not facing a ton of Starship decks. You look at the win rates, the popularity of Starship decks, certainly not there compared to where it was before. And I feel like, yeah, they're nerfing a bunch of other stuff. They want to try and preemptively get ahead of this too. So we'll see how big a change that is, but you can still do the same Starship strategies before. But this not having taunt is a big deal, right? You can't just play it and your opponent has to trade in, give you that armor. That is a very, very significant nerf. Escape the Underfill gets the double tap revert. It is going back to where it started. You now have to play 6 temporary cards, and the Rift again costs 5 mana. At that point, it was like a 35% deck win rate on that deck. It was not very good. And then it went to a powerhouse, like meta-defining card with the double tap. So we'll see what it's like. And we know Corpsicle is getting nerfed too, which sees play in that deck. But this should dial this back incredibly well. And I feel like they just don't want Quest to see play. That's sort of like the Warrior one and maybe Mage now, right? But yeah, this is a brutal nerf. And if you got the ladder ready deck for free, I got an extra copy of Escape the Underfell, which you can dust for full dust. All these cards you can dust for full dust, I believe, unless they're like a core set or whatever. Anyways, yeah, huge nerf to that card. It turns out that, yeah, sometimes buffs are just not the best idea some of the times, and a lot of them get reverted. We see it time and time again, which is again why I'm kind of happy we don't have any buffs this patch. See how the nerfs play out and then go from there. Probably do a buff patch on the next balance patch. Probably look at Mage, right? Arcane Mage in particular. But overall, again, a lot of the newer stuff isn't that bad. It's not that far off. So I'm really excited to see how this patch plays out, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Dive to Galaka Depths, the Murloc quest. Will go to play 6 Murlocs from 5 to 6. And it says here, the quest has been especially prevalent in lower rank brackets, so we're scaling it back to shake things up. They've heard you complain. They've heard Reddit. They've heard a lot of people complain. They don't like facing this, but I feel like, I wonder if the popularity will go down because people weren't crushing it with the deck, but will it stay the same? Will people still keep playing it at 6? Probably, but it'll be a lot worse, right? Every step of the way, you got to play one extra Murloc to get those buffs in. At higher ranks, I pretty much never see this card, and whenever I do, I typically beat it unless I'm playing something really slow like Quest Control Warrior. I typically got stomped by it, but overall, yeah, it wasn't super competitive at higher ranks, but glad to see, you know, not just the high rank players matter, you know? It's a game for everybody. Sparkling File goes from 3 to 4 mana, so when you play with Alonius, it's a little bit harder to cheat that much mana. I don't know. I wish they would have done a bit bigger of a nerf, because like a lot of the times you just have so much mana anyways, and if you just hit the one file, you're likely just gonna kill them, right? So maybe it slows Aloni's Druid down. They also got Ancient of Yore nerfed, which goes into that deck. Their survivability goes down a little bit. It's more of a high legend thing. But yeah, Sparkling File goes up in mana, a little less flexible, might be a good enough deal to bring that deck down for the high legend players. We'll have to wait and see. Corpsicle goes to 3 mana, no other change than that. So 3 mana, deal 3. You could still go infinite, you could still do all that as long as you got corpses, but it will cost you more mana. It's not as flexible to weave in your turns, whether it's Quest Warlock, whether it's Frost DK, which is always pretty good. It's always right up there. It's pretty harsh, I feel like. This probably kills the card. I don't think this will see much play. It rotates soon anyways. But yeah, 2 to 3 is a very large deal, and I don't know how much more of Corpsicle we'll see until, I imagine it'll get, most of these cards are gonna get reverted for WoW, because like none of these really impact WoW that much. Sanguine Infestation goes from 4 to 5 mana, so nothing else changing. Same card draw, same leeches, same rune requirement. DK doesn't have a lot of good 4s, and this was the go-to play on 4. I don't know if it works very well at 5. Like, I don't know how well that's gonna curve. I feel like it hurts Deathlight a lot, which has been very good for a long time, and I enjoy that because I like playing DK. But yeah, like it's you know, you're competing with the Ancient of Yore. If you're still playing with that, other 5 plays, it'll be interesting. But I guess it curves a bit better into Husk, right? Sanguine on 5, Husk on 6, I guess. But obviously it's much worse. Will it still see playing DK? I think there's a good chance. They don't have a ton of good card draw, but at 1 more mana, it does make a big difference. So we'll see how that one plays out. But yeah, DK getting a significant hit, which again, I'm very biased. I love my Deathlight, but I think it's time, and this is going to be in standard next year. If it ends up being over nerfed or whatever, they can always revert that too. But I think it's probably the right way to go, at least in the meantime. Sandbox Scoundrel, finally finally getting nerfed. It will now make your next card this turn cost 2 less. They're gonna have to rebuild these Scoundrel decks if Scoundrel is still good enough, because you'd play all these 3s because you would play it for free with it. And with the mini in particular and shadow stepping that, you get a 0 mana, make your next card -3 mana. You could cheat out a big thing a lot sooner. Now it's -2, so that slows that down by a turn. The tempo with Scoundrel itself is worse when you play it early. It's a huge nerf. I think the card could still be playable. There's a shot of it, but it was completely busted as it was for so long. I cannot believe it lasted this long at this point, but for me, very happy to see it change. I imagine it'll get reverted for Wild as well when it goes next year, but a huge change where this is basically a fabled card, people were saying, in Rogue, outside of Cycle Rogue, which doesn't really play it that often. So I feel like Rogue's probably going to go the Cycle route and Weapon and Aggro route to see what works, and then they might figure out that Scoundrel's still good. You never know. But yes, a very significant change there. Resuscitate going to 6 mana. Really good card in both Protoss Priest and the Bandage Priest with like Wilted Shadow. Really hurts that curve of going like 1, 2, 3. I guess you fill the 4 and then you play Resuscitate. I think it could still see play. It was busted at 5, but at 6 it might just be a little bit too slow. It's crazy how 1 mana can make that difference, but it's quite possible. But yeah, with Protoss Priest the way it was and Bandage Priest, I feel like it was probably an okay change. I just feel like, again, also I feel kind of sad because it's a cool card. It's really interesting. It's just so good at 5. So we'll see how it goes at 6. Testing Dummy is dead. They killed it. You cannot kill anybody with this card anymore unless you're Mark and you have a weird combo. This will only damage enemy minions now. This does not go face anymore. So Dios, you can play it and do a bunch of damage to minions, and that's it. And yeah, I think that's probably the right call. They'll revert it when it goes to Wild and go from there. But yeah, I don't think any deck, and basically kills off Mech Warrior that was before without the Dios combo. There's just no point when you're not dealing a bunch of damage and killing your opponent. So it's good for controlling the board, I guess, but I feel like Warrior could do that in a lot better ways. So yeah, the Dios stuff getting hit, right? Like Scoundrel, they play around the Scoundrel Dios into the Incendious combos a little bit, and we'll see how it all plays out with Dios, because Dios is also looking scary with Protoss Mage, which might be making a comeback. I would not be surprised at that. Chemical Spill goes to 6 mana. You slow the turtle down a turn. The Dios combo's already gone anyways, but you would slow that down too. Still probably could be good enough, right? Coining it on 5, playing it on 6 and getting the turtle might be a bit too slow. And these are type of cards that just shouldn't be good. Like, it's just a pure scam card. And you can still do your combos and all that stuff if you want to. It's just going to be a lot harder to survive and be competitive, right? The Marks and the Ulticons could still make plenty of combo videos out of it when they're farming their low MMR, but yeah, when you're being more competitive, it will take a big hit. Ultralisk Cavern goes to 4 mana. This helps shore up like the Egg Warlocks, and unfortunately it hurts Reform Warlock too, but there was really no way of nerfing Warlock, and particularly like Egg Warlock or the slower decks, without also hitting Reform. It just doesn't happen, and Ultralisk has been bonkers at 3 mana for so long. Yeah, it goes to 4, slows things down, still works really well with like Eternal Layover. Card functions the same, it's just a bit slower, so we'll see. This could still see play. I'm not sold that this card is dead, but it is a very significant hit. Metal Detector gets reworked. They actually reworked this card. Instead of after your hero attacks and kills a minion, get a coin, you now just get a coin on the death rattle. So you can only get 1 coin out of this unless you have like Dios active, and then you get 2 coins. So buff to Dios Rogue. But yeah, this also hurts Mage. This also hurts Paladin, as they all have the tourist card from Perils to get this card. This sees play in Wild considerably too. This is maybe the most impactful nerf of the entire patch for the entirety of Hearthstone, as this is a meta card in every format right now. And yeah, getting 1 coin, is that going to be worth it? I don't know. It might be, might not be, but it's not as uber punishing that when you play it on 3, your opponent plays a minion, you hit in, get a coin out of 5, drop the next turn. You can't really do that until, I guess you could break the weapon, get a coin to 5. It might still see some play, but it's not going to be nearly as insane as it was before. It's a significant nerf. RC Rampage goes to 5. This is a huge nerf to this card. At 4, super strong. At 5, feel like it's probably unplayable, especially it curves so well with Dynamancy, right? Play this on 4, you play Dynamancy on 5. I feel like it's really gonna hurt this card. I would have rather just seen them take like 1 hound away rather than make it 5, but overall it's going to 5. It might be a dead card. For a card like this, 1 turn makes an absolutely huge difference. Battle Fiend back to a 1/2. We've gone full circle, yet well, not quite full circle. It started as a 2/2, got nerfed to a 1/2, got buffed to a 1/3, and now it's back to a 1/2. Maybe in like 2 more years it'll come back as a 2/2, and then we'll be full circle. But yes, hurts aggro DH, so been really good deck for quite some time. It'll still be good. It'll still likely see play again. Sock Puppet Slither Spear sees play as a 1/2. It I would imagine this still is fine. Aggro DH is still pretty good. I don't think it's going anywhere, but it's a nudge to the deck, and I think that's perfectly fine. And yeah, we got some wild changes, including a rework with dev comments here of we're making a few targeted adjustments to outliers in Wild. Holy Wrath has been a part of Hearthstone since the very beginning, but its current level of consistency and burst damage, 125 damage to be exact, goes beyond what we want for the format. As for Discard Warlock, it's a core strategy for the class and will continue to receive support, but we'll be keeping a close eye on it to ensure the cumulative, I can never say that word properly, impact of its cards doesn't push things too far. So Holy Wrath is a whole new card. It's 3 mana instead of 5, and you draw a card and deal damage equal to its cost to a minion. It can no longer go face. So yeah, you can't just point 120.5 damage face. You got to play like Ash Tug and then somehow give your opponent the minion, I guess the old Darkmoon Fair legendary, and then Holy Wrath that. So Mark, I'm ready for that video. You better have that ready within the week, okay? I want to see Holy Wrath OTK Mark video. I want to see that. I'm sure he'll do it, but overall, it's not going to be the same thing at all. That archetype is completely dead, at least from a competitive perspective, unless you're facing like aggro, like Pirate, Priest, or Demon Hunter, and they play the 1 mana 2/3 Pirate, and then you just Holy Wrath that. That can still happen. There's still ways, but overall, yeah, Holy Wrath dead, and it just had to. Like, it was just so ridiculous what it could do. Malchezaar's Imp, definitely not dead. We'll definitely still see play in Discard Warlock, but it's 2 mana, which is a big deal. Playing this on 1, really hard to remove, and it could just snowball from there. Also, just on 1, you could play it with like Cursed Catacombs and get the discard synergy and draw right away. At 2, I guarantee you this will still see play. Like Void Touch to 10 and at 2 still sees play in Shadow Aggro Priest, but they're not trying to kill the deck. Like they said, they're going to continue to support it. They just want to try and tone it down, but I do not expect Discard Warlock to still be anything but top tier in Wild. It will definitely be very, very good. And yeah, a bunch of changes to Battlegrounds, which again, I'll link the patch notes down below if you want to take a look. I actually look at the bottom. I don't see any bug fixes or game improvements at all in here. So I guess that's it for the patch. Oh my God, Colossus there too. That's spooky. Anyways, we'll have the patch review tomorrow, see how the patch is feeling and everything going with that. And then we'll have new deck recommendations in a couple of days. So hopefully this patch at least changes the meta, right? I'm glad that they hit almost everything, right? There's still like Death Rattle Demon Hunter that scares me. Logosh Warrior looks pretty spooky, but at least it's new. Protoss Mage could always come back. Some of these decks might not be nerfed hard enough, but at the end of the day, we should see a significant meta shift, something different, and honestly, that's all I can ask for right now. Whether it's good or bad, at least it will be different, right? Hopefully. Anyways, let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.